You step into your own hallway at night, and for 1 second, it does not feel like your hallway. The doors are where they should be. The coat is still hanging beside the wall. Nothing has moved. Yet the corridor seems longer, the corners look deeper, and the coat has somehow acquired the shape of a person. You know where you are, but you no longer feel certain about what is there. The obvious explanation is that darkness simply makes it harder to see. That is true, but it misses the strange part. You can still recognize the place. The hallway has not become unknown. It has become familiar and untrustworthy at the same time. That happens because night does not give your brain a dimmer copy of the daytime scene. It gives it a different set of clues. In daylight, color separates surfaces. Fine edges define the sleeves of the coat, the frame of the door, and the gap between the object and the wall. Texture helps show where one thing ends and another begins. Those details make objects difficult to misinterpret. As the light falls, many of those details weaken. Color becomes less useful. Fine boundaries fade. Separate shapes begin to merge. The broad layout can remain visible even when the objects inside it become uncertain. So you can recognize the place before you can confidently recognize everything occupying it. But familiarity creates another problem. Your brain does not enter your own hallway as if it has never seen it before. Repeated experience has given you a strong expectation of how the space should look, how far away the door should seem, where the walls should meet, which shape belongs in each corner. That expectation normally helps. A few clues are enough to identify the entire place. At night, however, the current view may only partly match the version you know. The door is still in the correct position, but one edge has disappeared. The corridor still leads in the same direction, but the distance is harder to judge. The coat is exactly where memory says it should be, but its outline no longer looks like the object you remember. The brain receives two messages at once. I know this place. Something about it does not match. That conflict is what makes a familiar place feel wrong. You have not failed to recognize it. You have recognized it without receiving the usual visual confirmation that everything inside it is exactly as expected, and light can disturb that confirmation more dramatically than it seems. A coat during the day is not recognized from one clue. Its color, sleeves, folds, hook, background, and shadow all support the same answer. At night, the sleeve may merge with the wall, the hook may disappear, a shadow may extend the object upward, creating what looks like a head. The coat has not changed. The evidence defining it has. Move the light source, and a weak edge can disappear, while a shadow creates a stronger one somewhere else. A doorway that showed depth in daylight can become a flat black shape. A corner can lose the line that reveals where the walls meet. Nothing has moved, but the room has been visually reorganized. Background becomes foreground. Empty space becomes a dark object. A harmless shadow becomes the clearest shape in view. Now the brain has to choose between possible interpretations before enough evidence is available. The coat is probably still a coat, but for a moment, the remaining shape could also be a person. Your brain does not need to decide that an intruder is standing there. It only needs to keep that possibility open. That matters because the two interpretations do not carry equal consequences. Mistaking a coat for a person costs a few seconds of attention. Mistaking a person for a coat could matter much more. So uncertainty does not remain emotionally neutral. The interpretation that might demand action becomes difficult to dismiss until better evidence arrives. That is why you may stop and stare instead of walking past. The hallway has not become dangerous, but the available information is no longer good enough to prove that every part of it is harmless. If this changed your perspective, leave a like. And darkness does not always create this feeling. You can lie in a completely dark bedroom and feel calm. You switched off the light yourself. You expected the room to change. The door is closed, the house is quiet, and the missing visual information has an obvious explanation. Then you hear a sound from the corner. The amount of light has not changed. The furniture has not moved. But the meaning of everything you cannot see clearly changes at once. Before the sound, the darkness required no answer. After the sound, the same darkness contains something you may need to identify. Every unclear shape becomes relevant. The gap beside the wardrobe matters. The doorway feels more open. The coat is no longer just difficult to see. It becomes one of several things the sound might have come from. The sound does not place a threat in the room. It changes what your brain needs to rule out. Expected darkness feels different from unexpected darkness for the same reason. In one case, the missing information already has a cause. In the other, it becomes part of the uncertainty. The feeling becomes strongest when three things arrive together: reduced visual detail, a mismatch with what you expected, and a reason to care about the unresolved possibilities. The same pattern can make your own street feel unfamiliar after dark. Fewer visible markers divide the route. Dark areas merge. Distances become harder to judge. Yet you still recognize the turn, the buildings, and the destination ahead. Once again, recognition tells you where you are without guaranteeing confidence in what is around you. And the place does not need to become truly unrecognizable. Most of the scene can still be correct. One uncertain silhouette can change how you interpret the empty space around it. One missing boundary can make a familiar distance feel unstable. A small contradiction can be enough to make the whole place feel unreliable. That selective uncertainty is why the feeling can be so convincing. If the whole scene vanished, you would simply know that you could not see. Instead, most of the hallway appears normal. The few details that refuse to settle stand out against everything you recognize, making the mismatch harder, not easier, to ignore. Then, one small change resolves the entire conflict. You switch on the hallway light. The human figure collapses into a coat. The black shape regains the depth of a doorway. The corridor returns to its ordinary length. Nothing has been added to the scene, and nothing has been removed. The light has not restored your memory. You never lost it. It has restored agreement between memory and current evidence. Edges return. Surfaces separate. Shadows stop competing with the objects that produced them. The detailed scene finally matches the place your brain expected to find. That is why the wrongness disappears so quickly. It was never complete unfamiliarity. It was a familiar place failing to confirm itself. You knew the hallway and where the coat should be. But until the visual evidence became reliable again, knowing the place was not the same as trusting the scene. A familiar place feels wrong at night because recognition can survive even when certainty does not. The place still tells you where you are. The darkness leaves you unsure about what is there with you. Subscribe to Wonder Ledger for more hidden rules of being human. What should we uncover next?